Hey there! Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, the show designed with you in mind. Here, we take a holistic approach to your journey because your main instrument isn't just the flute, it's you. When we focus on you, the artist, the person, you'll see everything else in your playing and career transcend to new heights. This is the year to make your playing soar, and we're here to guide you every step of the way. I truly believe this is my God-given mission, to serve you, to help you grow as an artist, and to ensure you have the tools to flourish both on and off the stage. So, grab your favorite drink, take some notes, and let's dive in. Together, we'll make this your best year yet. Today's episode is episode 308, part 1, Passing the Baton, Elevating Creativity and Financial Confidence for Artists with Dr. Iva Ugrčić. Are you a flutist looking for real connections? The Flute 360 Tier 1 Accelerator Program is your chance to join a supportive community where you can grow artistically and professionally. For just $37, you'll get access to over a year's worth of videos and bonus content designed to help you on your unique journey. Whether you're looking for flute friends, career growth, or a safe space to explore new possibilities, we've got you covered. Every video comes with resources and summaries, so you know exactly what will help you the most. Don't miss this opportunity to finally find your people, grow your career, and explore your artistic voice. Join today. Your 360 journey is waiting.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
You look fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
With
You
the red.
too.
Oh, thank you. With the red and the red, I want to literally grow up and be just like you when I get older someday.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I never noticed that I love red until one of my friends was like, and I'm a Taurus,
Okay.
So, and he was like, yeah, you really like red. I was like, no, that's not true. He was like, yeah, it is. And at the time I had like a big red coat and a jacket and it was like red. Like, oh, I guess I do like red.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it funny how you need some friends and family members to kind of sometimes point out the obvious things that we just take for granted. And when somebody points it out, you're like, oh, actually, yes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That could be a nugget for things like even our careers. Mm-hmm. I know I'm going super deep on something as simple as a red color, but do you know what I mean? Yeah.
100%. You need someone else sometimes to tell you the things you're good at, because if the things come naturally to you and you're good at that, you don't necessarily think about that. We're kind of programmed to think about things we need to work on and develop and be better at, right? Mm. And then you sometimes neglect things that you're good at, with, and then you need someone else to tell you, hey, you're really good at this. Why you're not honing in more into what works for you naturally, that you're naturally gifted for, right?
Perfectly said. Yes. Yeah. And it's kind of smack across the face, oh, doink, duh.
Exactly.
I am that way, or those are my strengths.
Right. Or you can connect those things together and make a package, that is very unique to you and your talent skills. So.
See, that's why I love podcasting and conversing with friends. From a simple color red conversation with beautiful glasses and a shirt, we are diving so deep into just even skill sets for the modern day flutist.
Exactly. Yay.
Look at us go. Well, we're killing it, so we're just going to keep crushing it.
Exactly.
Oh, shoot. Well, it's been a hot second, but it feels like I just saw you in San Antonio in NFA in August. These past 2.5 months flew by so fast.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But it was awesome seeing you and giving you a hug in person.
Yeah, it was fantastic. My face lit up and I was like, oh my gosh. And you and other social media friends that I got to see in real life, I'm like, it didn't feel, I mean, it was extremely exciting because I'm a very touchy person. I love hugs. I love interaction. But at the same time, it didn't feel like, oh, this is the first time, I'm using air quotes, this is the first time I'm meeting her or him or whatever, because literally all of our conversations through Messenger and emails and things like that, well, you're a very warm person, so you make it very natural. But it didn't feel like this big event either at the same time. It felt like, oh, there's Jane, there's Joe, and that's very comforting.
Yes. I 100% agree. Yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that we never actually met in person.
Yeah.
Right? That we know each other like virtually, but we talked so much and we have so much in common that it just felt completely natural. It was like, hey, hi, good to see you. Like, see you for a coffee in like a couple of days.
Yeah. And I think that is paramount to like the people we're serving today and the people you're serving in your business and my business. Is when that chemistry and when that synergy is there, you found your people. Because then it is organic. It feels like I've known her my entire life, but we've known each other maybe virtually for a year and met for the first time in person. But why does it feel that organic? Because we are cultivating a relationship and we have a lot of common threads and a lot of common points where we can see eye to eye. And it feels like we're sisters or BFF or the girl next door. And it's like, oh, what a breath of fresh air. This feels so comforting because she gets me and I get her. And I don't know, it just feels very inviting.
Yes, I share the sentiment 100% with you.
So maybe that's a nugget for our people today. Just that alone. Like, hey, if you are feeling attracted and amplified and just what's the word I'm looking for? Exhilarated. When you see certain people, take some time to self-reflect and journal and say, why does that person light me up? Why does that person motivate me or make me feel inspired to accomplish these things? Right?
Oh, 100%. And the same goes actually with a negative feeling you get from someone, right?
Yes.
Because it's usually, this is so true. Usually you have one of the threads that you're exhibiting a behavior or something that you don't necessarily maybe like in someone else. And you need to reflect on that and be like, hey, why is this? Why there is a resistance? Actually this morning I had, I have my Lunarts meeting, the nonprofit organization I'm running, and I have a team of people and I have young interns. And we were talking about like what's the flavor of your character, and one of them said spicy and like, it's hard to work with me. And, I really need a special team of people. And what I said is actually, no, you want people that are like-minded, absolutely, or that have the same passion. But you also want people that are on completely opposite side because they're going to challenge you. They're going to question your decisions, your moves, and then you will have this like constructive dialogue or a discussion, and the best idea is going to surface from it. So sometimes it's really, not times, but like a lot of times it's really good to have both sides on your team or in a group you're working or, people you're partnering with, because you can learn a lot from the people that are completely on the opposite side from you.
1000%. Yes. That's a nugget I learned from my colleague and really dear friend, Garrett Hope, about 3 to 4 years ago. And he asked me to co-organize the Ultimate Music Business Summit with him and our mutual friend, Arthur Brewer. And I thought, well, that makes sense. Doug, Garrett, because we're BFF and we get along so well. And he goes, yes. And he always lovingly rolls his eyes at me because I'm a bit much. And he's like, yes, Heidi. But he goes, I hired you because you compliment me. You have skill sets that I do not have. And the minute he said that so simplistic, so straightforward, so matter of fact, because he thought about it. He pondered on it.
Yes.
When those words hit my ears, I was like, That is brilliant. I had never thought about that before. And that makes so much sense.
Yes. Yes.
So,
100%.
yeah. So for anybody out there thinking about like an album or a project or a creative endeavor, that is one way to approach it. Like, I'm building out my flute studio, or I'm building out this music academy.
Mm-hmm.
What skill sets do I own, and what skill sets are lacking, and what people can I bring into the team to complement that and fill that void?
Absolutely. Or have someone just to, as like a sounding board, right? Like an advisory person, someone like coaches, you do that with your clients. I do that with my clients. It's like they come with the ideas, and then through series of questions and discussions, you actually hone more into that idea or change it slightly so it works better for them. But yes, I love surrounding myself with people. And it goes back to even flute playing, right? I know a lot of people are like, well, that person is like, well, why would I go to like an undergrad concert or something like that? It'll be like, well, even from not such a high level performance, you can learn a lot. Right? Even from mistakes in someone else's performances, you can learn a lot about, you might recognize yourself, mistakes you're making, or, finally, you will maybe have that light bulb or like, oh my God, this is how I can solve the problem. Again, this morning, I was telling my team, I was like, I love playing from scores of my colleagues because they have markings in a score. And I'm like, oh, like this complicated passage, my friend approach this way. I never even thought about it. This is brilliant. Or this will help me practice. It's not necessarily the way I want to think or perform it, but I can practice it this way to just like get more comfortable with the idea, or, a student that this approach might be better than what I'm doing. So there's so much we can learn from other people, even though we don't necessarily 100% agree with what they're saying or doing.
Ooh, I love it. Yeah. See, this is why we need to podcast together more often. We haven't even touched the surface yet of your financial advice and your coaching, and we're already just like diving in deep with, collaborations and partnerships. I love it. I could be here in this space with you for the next 3 hours. So I hope you have the whole afternoon carved out, because this is what we're doing.
All yours.
Perfect. Well, I love how you connected it back to practicing and flute playing, because one of my adult enthusiast students who's been removed from the flute for 20 plus years, she's come back to it. She sounds fantastic, and she's making huge strides. And she's learning one of the Telemann fantasies. And I said, perfect. Here's an opportunity for you on Saturday to play for Danette McDermott. She's a Baroque flute expert. Go in and let's do a masterclass where you get to perform this and share this with your 360 friends for Dr. McDermott and get Baroque advice. And she's like, no, there's no way, Heidi. Like, I've been away from the flute. I've only been playing for a few years. I'm not where I want to be. And I said, we can learn something from you and from that experience and what you have to offer, because what I really appreciate about her playing and what I really respect about her playing is that, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. It's not impossible, but it's a bit of a challenge to coach a player to feel the music, to understand the music, the written stuff that's not on the page, the spirit, the essence. That's hard to teach a younger performer, correct?
Yes. 100%.
Because she has years, she has experience, she's been listening to music even away from the instrument. She already has a concept of what that Telemann fantasy should sound like. And it sounds like I'm in a chamber of, in the 18th century, listening to her play. Obviously it's solo flute, but play with a harpsichord or play with a chamber. Like, she has that Baroque essence and she's bringing that to life. And I'm like, you can literally showcase that musical maturity through your Telemann fantasy. Yes, maybe the fingers aren't at presto yet. Yes, maybe the ornamentation is not there just yet. But the essence and the spirit of what you're doing for that Telemann fantasy, you're doing it major justice. And the younger 360ers listening to this performance can really learn a lot from what you have to share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a big problem with our industry, with in the classical music, right? We all are striving towards perfectionism. And throughout the schooling, it was always like, do the competition and do this audition. And it's very selective, very competitive. It has to be like to the best, no mistakes allowed, right? That's kind of the mentality we are all brought up. At least me, that's how I grew up. It's like, you're not allowed to make a mistake. You're not allowed to, everything has to be perfect. And you're constantly criticized, right? So when a player comes back after a while, she still has this blueprint from when she was younger, that she has to perform at the highest possible level. And if she thinks that she's not there, she's going to have a roadblock, right? Mm-hmm. So I think what we need to incorporate more is really celebrating. I'm not saying everyone gets a trophy, because I don't think that's also extremely productive. but but we need to celebrate those small wins and those 1% better mentality, right? So every time you do something, you're tweaking a little bit, you're learning something new, and not putting so much pressure on players and on musicians. At the early age or at the stage that she is, I think it's all it's basically what I'm trying to say. It's a mindset and it's a blueprint that needs to be rewritten.
It does need to be rewritten. Yes, completely. How do we rewrite that as the new, because we're and I can say this lovingly because I'm right there with you. We are geriatric millennials.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So because we're not the new, but when I looked up to Dr. Diane Boyd, specifically I'm saying her, she's the professor at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Mm-hmm. And she was teaching in Illinois, where I'm originally from. And I looked up to her at 11, 13 years old, and I want to be just like her. I said that in my mind's eye. I said, I'm going to be just like her when I grow up, right? Yeah. And I aspired to be Dr. Heidi because of the poise and the intelligence and how she treated me as a student. I just loved everything about her. And I'm here because of her and other mentors. So I say that because I am sure that she was about my age now, 39, when I was about 13, looking at her and saying, I want to be that. So I'm using air quotes. We are now the new mentors and the new professors in the industry where our mentors were 20 years ago. And little girls and little boys are looking up to us saying, I want to be like her or him someday. So full circle, how do we rewrite that blueprint? Because obviously I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. My disclaimer is mentors and people, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. So we're not perfect in any way. But how do we lovingly take the baton that they're passing us and do it justice and do it a little bit better, 1% more for the next generation?
Right. And I think that's beautifully said, Heidi. And I think you actually unlock the secret there. It's humility, showing that we are not perfect, showing that everyone makes mistakes. Everyone, the biggest star of this world, when they're on stage, they make mistakes, and it's okay, and it's totally human. And we need to demystify that perfectionism. We are all striving towards it, but no one actually reaches there. And I think with today's technology and everything that is surrounding us, like this podcast, like all those YouTube videos, that access to high level performers and the best of the best telling us their stories and us asking them those stories, it's how we demystify everything. And so it's not anymore. I know when I grew up, and I grew up in Serbia, it's a third world country, no access to anything, no access. I mean, the first time I saw the original score is when I went to Paris when I was 22 or 23 for my master's program. I never before almost saw the original, Wow. I never possessed it. Actually, I saw it. It was in the library, but I never had access to it, it was never in my home. So, and I remember learning, about all these superstars of the time through CDs. And those were gods for me. It was there is that superhuman somewhere out there that I'm like learning this Reinecke sonata from or this Mozart concerto from, right? But nowadays, I think it's different because you can, world is way more connected, not just online, but like even, ability for you to travel and get places faster and cheaper kind of changes that. And I think we are the bridge. I think our generation is the bridge. So we know the old ways, but we are also very much in tune at what's happening right now.
Yes.
So,
I love that. Demystifying it. Yeah. And humanizing it.
Yeah. Humanizing it and showing that humility. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be perfect and, be very gentle towards yourself. And I'm saying this because I'm struggling with it. Mm-hmm. I'm not gentle. I'm like I'm naturally, actually, my blueprint is to be judgmental towards myself in my work constantly.
Okay.
And I always need to step back and be like, okay, what are the good things that are going on? What am I good at? Like, yes, I can always work and expand and learn new skills, but these are all the amazing things I have done and I need to celebrate that. And I kind of grew up in a pattern of like, well, if you did something good, well, you're supposed to be doing that. But these are all the areas you're not good at and you need to really work hard on it.
Mm.
So it's this constant pressure, know, and now and I'm still struggling with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's an ongoing, I mean, I'm saying this lovingly. It's an ongoing battle, not battle in a bad way, but just growth and continuous learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And again, going back to like those masters and like top performers, they're still learning. They're still, expanding their knowledge. It's never done. And that's the whole point. That's why we do this in any area of your life, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's relationship, if it's like your business, is it your playing, is it friendship? Like you cannot, it's never one and done. It's never like, oh, I acquired you as my friend and I'm like done with it. I need to nurture it, right?
Yeah. I wish some things though in life could be one and done.
I know. You set up a system and you're like,
perfect. It's done. I can walk away. There's so many gems that you just articulated so beautifully. I could go down 10 rabbit holes with you. And I'll mention this since it's relevant and it's so timely because it just happened last weekend. And then we'll get into your career and how you're helping your people with finances. But I'm telling you, we're going to be here for 3 hours because this in of itself, this is where the magic happens, right? Again, it circles back to like when you find your people and you find people who get you and resonate on these topics, then you get to really unpack this stuff. You get to really be human and show people like how we're thinking and what others are feeling. And then it's this joint effort and you feel the community because we're like, oh, we're not alone. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yes.
They're talking about this too. So circling back to the element that you mentioned about these victories and all these little victories and going, oh, well, you're good at this and you need to work on this because you're not good here. I had not a breakdown. That's a very dramatic statement. I had a moment of I'm done last weekend. And I literally looked at my husband, Eric, and I said, I'm burnt out. I can't look at a screen. If I look at these 4 walls in our house another second, I'm going to explode. And so I just drove 2 hours north to a town called Denison, Texas, and I rented out one of those like pods. They converted a train cart into like this really cute Airbnb. And I was like, oh, this is so cute. I was a little worried at first, like safety-wise, like, where is this cart? But it was actually really safe, really clean, and I felt right at home. Anyways, the whole point was I gave myself a 4-day silence retreat where I just wanted to sit with myself and stare at a tree and listen to the birds and just be away from my phone and everything electronic based. And what I realized was I had been going for the last 20 years. And I didn't sit and celebrate the DMA. I didn't sit and celebrate starting up a business. I didn't sit and celebrate these things that we think, not that I felt like I needed to do those things or should do those things. I wanted to do those things, but it was so fast paced, and we live in such a fast paced culture. I know a lot of 360 listeners will resonate with this. That's why I'm sharing this. And that is, it was like masters, build up a studio, DMA, now get accepted to NFA proposals, start up a business, start up a podcast. And it's just one after the other after the other. And I sat there and I was like, that sounds like a very bold statement to go, hey, Heidi, you've been going for 20 years nonstop. And I'm like, but I have, I got to celebrate like an actual party for these different degrees and stuff, but like an internal celebration, an internal acknowledgement of good job, and pat yourself on the back for doing a good job. Things will happen and nothing's going to be done perfectly, but you showed up, you accomplished the thing you said you were going to do. And just giving myself space to do that and honor myself in that way, and all the people and honor all the people who supported me during those years and during those seasons, it just felt so freeing and so relaxing to go, and it was like a good weight to just drop off my shoulders and just kind of release it. So that's just an encouragement to anybody who may be feeling, constantly on the go, constantly tied up with the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Have you actually stopped and accepted what you have done thus far?
Yes. Oh my God. That's, and I'm actually surprised it just happened, because I have breakdowns almost on a weekly basis. And I'm serious about it. And
No. It happens on a weekly basis. It was the first time that I actually said stop and reflect. So
good for you. Yes. I think the big problem, and this is like, I know we're all struggling. We're not living in the present, right? And we are not asking ourselves, what would Iva like to do? Who is Iva now? And I always like, when you ask me who I am, and I'm like, I'm a flutist, I'm a musician, I'm an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, no, who I am actually outside of what I'm doing, outside of my work, which, us musicians have a very blurred line between our calling, our profession, and who we are actually as people, being like, oh, I'm honest, I'm a great mother, I'm an awesome friend, I'm someone that loves suntanning and playing volleyball on the beach, or whatever whatever you like to do. But we never think about those things. I never think about those things. Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I never live in a present moment. And I don't know, Heidi, if there was something in the stars, because a week ago I had a similar breakdown. I came to my husband. I was like, I'm done. I cannot do this anymore. I'm like so exhausted, and I was like, I just want to quit everything, and I just want to find hobby. And when I said that, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't have a hobby in the past 15, 20 years. I don't actually have a hobby. Everything I'm doing in my life, I'm passionate, so I approach it as a hobby. But then I turn it into a business, and then it's like, then you start having those obligations and timelines and like all of it. And you're like, I realized that I don't have a hobby. Like, I always wanted to paint. I painted when I was a kid. That was my medium of communication, and I was great at it. And I stopped because I simply don't have time for it. So, maybe that's something like finding another creative outlet or something else beside what you're doing every day, even though you can be passionate as much as you want, but there is always a risk of burnt out, even though you love it, right? Even though you cannot imagine your life without music and everything you're doing. I know exactly how you feel.
Wow.
So I think for us, or anyone that feels like that, just finding something on the side that is really feeling good. Like, I'm an avid reader. So now when I feel like that, I was just like, close my eyes and like, what would Iva like to do? And I usually go towards like, Iva likes to go for a walk in the woods, or Iva likes to read. And I'm going to do one or the other.
Yep.
And I will give myself like a half an hour, like every day, that I sit there with my cup of coffee that I adore and like my book, and like tune everything else out.
Yep.
So those are like those smally things that like kind of keep you on track with what you're doing, and like, calm you down and like ground you in a present moment.
Yep.
If it makes sense. But I know it's so hard. Like, a lot of people are doing like, they're meditating or they're writing journals. And I think those are really powerful methods. It's something that I kind of struggle with, to be honest with you, but I know a lot of people, it works great for them. When you sit just in the morning and write like 5 things you're grateful for. And it's amazingly how it can like just center you. And Heidi, you can be like, I'm grateful, I'm happy. I'm grateful, I have a loving husband and a relationship. I have a great community of friends and colleagues that I work with. And then suddenly all of the tasks you're doing are like, okay, they kind of fall into place. Right?
Yes.
But also what you have done, taking a very intentional breaks. And this is something I incorporated about a year ago. And this might help. And I actually want to do this for the larger community. But I started doing 2-day retreats just for myself. Okay. That doesn't mean that I'm going somewhere, but I block my calendar. I'm not talking to anyone besides my family. But I will sit there and review my entire life and, think about the things I'm doing, the things I'm still passionate about. What are the roadblocks? Is there something that I'm doing that it doesn't fire me up anymore? Can I delegate that? Can I scrap it from my life? Really dive deep into how I'm feeling right now, what I love, what I don't love, what I would like to change, and then plan 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. Who can I bring into my life to help me accomplish those goals? Who I want to be 2 years from now. How I want to identify. And it's okay if you change it, right?
Yes.
It's totally okay. But that's what I started doing like every 6 months now, because every 6 months I will like go back to my goals and be like, what have I accomplished? And if I didn't accomplish something, why did that happen? Maybe I'm not actually passionate about that. Maybe I'm missing knowledge. And if I'm missing knowledge, how much time would it take me to acquire that knowledge? Or again, can I bring someone to help me with that? Hey, Heidi is really good at podcasting and I need a platform. Can I talk to her about that? Right? Whatever the things are. So that's the system that works really well for me.
Girl, literally, we're drinking the same water. When you before you even said Heidi's good at podcasting, let me delegate podcasting work and pick her brain. 2 minutes prior, when I was listening to you speak, so again, eloquently and articulate of all these different ideas, I was thinking, Eva needs to have a podcast. She needs to have a podcast. 2 minutes later, you're like, maybe I need to delegate. And I'm like, yes. So between our scheduled burnout that we had at the same time last week and this idea of podcasting, we're in sync. I love it. So it's official. Well, you can put that on your list and you can consider podcasting to see if that's something that you want to pursue.
Love it. Yes. Oh, it's brewing in my mind. But, again, our to-do list is so big, right? That it's somehow, like I, for example, struggle. And I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. If we are all learned to be like busy, right? And sometimes I'm having a hard time, going from this like big ideas in creating a plans for them versus like checking off my to-do list, like all these burning things that I absolutely need to accomplish. But sometimes those things maybe are not as burning as we think they are, So what I need, and that's what I do on my like 6 months reviews, is like, have I been busy just for the sake of being busy and for pleasing myself? Or have I actually been moving the needle for me? Have I been doing things that needs to be done? That is very important for my career or my accomplishing my goals. Like, even though there are hard things to do, because we all know that when things are hard, naturally, we're going to push it away. We're like, I don't have time to deal with that. We'll always find an excuse, right? Instead of like diving head first, there is like a fear of success or a fear of failure. They're the same coin, 2 different sides, right? So I'm really curious to see, what do you think about that? And do you deal with that as well?
I do.
In your personal,
No, I do all the time. And I think what you said earlier about self-reflection and designating a certain time in your calendar where everything is blocked out. Clients don't make calls. You don't teach flute lessons. You're not practicing maybe you're not even talking to your family, and that self-reflection of what you do is a great start. It's an amazing start because I have to do the same thing because I get really distracted with the busy work because, and I'm saying this very lovingly, like I'm a people pleaser in a good way, in the sense of let me rephrase that. In the sense of I love serving people. I do have a heart of servitude, and I know that that serves me well. At the same time, I can be burnt out from serving people if I'm not careful to set up those healthy boundaries, because I will just keep giving. So to set aside time for yourself is not selfish at all. I think that's what Iva and I are saying in this whole conversation, to set that time off to the side, to be intentional. It's not selfish. You need to have that time with yourself, with your family, and maybe even have a designated business meeting with those people who you're delegating work to, where it's not like a connection or a meeting of like, this is, these are the reels that are going out to social media, again, the work that's on your desk, but actually pulling back the reins and saying, okay, wait, stop, pause, big picture talk. Let's get on the same page. And actually, you can't make this stuff up, Iva. Literally on what's today? Today is Tuesday. It was last week when I came back from my 4-day silent retreat, and I noticed I had another full day without lessons or meetings or anything business-wise. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm a person of faith, and I literally felt like God just gave me this extra time. And I was like, okay, all right. And I got excited because once I saw that space available for me, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. And it was the work that I was avoiding. It was literally mapping out. It was nothing fancy because I didn't even want to go to the store. I took printer paper and I did basically kind of like a 4x4, taped it, and had makeshift my own poster. And I sat there, I prayed, and I said, okay, what is the work? What are the things that I'm not seeing in my business or in my life that I want to accomplish? Things that you want me to, I'm speaking to God, you want me to fulfill. What's my purpose? What's my calling? I know where I am in terms of big picture calling, but where am I supposed to be specifically with Flute 360? Who are the people I'm supposed to serve? Who am I supposed to love on, care, and serve? And I basically just mapped it out. And this 4x4 piece of paper is taped up in a room in our house. It's colorful, bright, magic colors and everything. So different elements and different columns can catch my eye. And it's only big picture things. Kingdom work, my 5 pillars that Eric and I stand for, and then the 4 businesses. And there's nothing crazy detailed in the 4 businesses. It's not like you will have a business meeting once a week, nothing like that, because that is the busy work that you're talking about in sense of, and it's necessary work, but that's the work. I told Eric, the reason why I did that kind of work is because I told him, I said, we're in a stage right now of our 4 businesses where we want to level up. The things that are happening, the things that are working really well at this level served us well for quite some time, or else we wouldn't have seen some sort of accomplishment here at level 5. But if we want to get to level 6, what do we need to shed? What do we need to get rid of? And what do we need to hone and craft a little bit more to get to level 6? And that takes deep work. I don't care if you want to level up in your playing, your artistry, your businesses, anything like that. It requires deep work. And it doesn't have to be a whole day. Like, I don't want a listener to hear that and go, oh, well, good for you. You had 24 hours. You had that time. That's a luxury. And I know I'm privileged to have that time, but some sort of allocated time, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, just for that deep work to map things out. And what I had realized, Iva, to go back full circle to your question was, I literally can easily put all the things on the to-do list. I can easily put all the things on the calendar. But is it in alignment with that kingdom work? Is it in alignment with my 5 pillars? And if it is, then I say yes. If it's not, then I say pass. And for me, it's a gut reaction now of going, yay, nay, maybe not now, but maybe later. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so
100%.
what I told Eric was, we're doing really well work here at level 5 of pruning the branches. But I feel like sometimes the pruning of the branches, like this detailed work, there is probably work that we are going through that's not necessary, that it is busy work. So we have to ask ourselves, are we doing the right work? You have to be honest with yourself. You have to really see those elements on your to-do list and really be honest with yourself and say, but is this the right work towards our big goals? If it is, great. If it's not, maybe we need to dump it or put a pin in it. So what I realized through that entire exercise, Iva, was we were pruning. We were down here at the end of the funnel, the tip of the triangle, all the way down here to the point, constantly working like busy bees going right here. But it's like, wait a second. There was some like middle points of that cone that were neglected.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh. So for you to redirect and reprioritize and have your focus on the right things, those little small tasks either will stick to the plan and they will be a part of the funnel and the cone and the calling, or things that were unimportant to begin with, they go to the wayside naturally. They just, they fall off the page. They fall off the to-do list. So that's how I ground myself to answer your question. That was a long-winded answer, but you had to know in context what I'm doing and what my system and what my process looks like in order to get to that answer. But to answer your question, it literally is you have to know your vision, your mission, where you want to move that needle. What is your needle?
Exactly.
And then once you know it and once you can identify it and be honest with yourself of what it is, then you can start moving it. Now it can change. Like you said earlier, plans can change. Write things down in a pencil. I'm saying this symbolically and almost kind of literally too. Write your plans down with a pencil because you can erase it. It does not have to be etched in stone.
Absolutely. And you can like realize that maybe you're not as passionate as you thought you were, or, like it's just, there's so many things that can happen while you're working on things. And you can also, when you said like, some things will fall off of our to-do list, and that's great. But maybe, while working, you're like, well, maybe I actually should bring that back. And you can experiment with things. You drop something, you're like, let's see how I feel about not doing this, and how will impact my overall trajectory. And if you don't see and you even forget that it was ever there, it was a perfect choice. If, a little bit down the line, you're like, wait a second, I think I'm missing this aspect of things or element, you can always bring it back and reevaluate everything again, right? So it's never white and black, right?
Yeah.
It's never this like mentality of, what's the word I'm looking for? Wait a second, I'm blanking now.
All or nothing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I only know because I struggle with that for my own personal life. I have to remind myself, Heidi, there is a gray zone. Heidi, there is 50 degrees on the thermostat. It doesn't have to be 0 degrees or 100 degrees. There's 50.
Oh, 100%. I always what I like to tell my clients, and when I work with people, is like, it's like you're on a diet and you go to a party and you're like, someone offer you a piece of cake. You're like, no, I don't want it, because I'm on a diet. And then you end up like eating the entire cake, right? You can have that small piece, but not eat the entire cake and not like completely deprive yourself from dessert and guilty pleasures if you want, right?
Yes.
So you can eat a small amount. And so, that all or nothing mentality doesn't work for anything.
Yeah.
Like dieting, food practicing, running a business, relationship, anything. So
give me all the dark chocolate. Oh, shoot. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this conversation, Be sure to share the podcast with your friends and colleagues. Let's spread the word and keep this amazing community growing. And don't forget to tune in next week for part 2 of my talk with Dr. Iva. We'll dive even deeper into the wisdom she's sharing. So be sure to come back for the rest of our conversation. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to connect with you next time. Let's talk about Flute.